Guys, out of all the garden tours that I've done this year, I think this is the one that I'm most excited about because I have the most amazing results to share with you. We're back at my mom's house, and if you remember a couple of months ago, we came over with Ben and we planted up her backyard pots and also her containers and her flower beds in the front. And so I have to share this with you because these annuals that we planted this year, I think have outperformed every single thing that I planted in my garden and in this garden over the past 2 years. They've been absolutely amazing. So let's show you what we've got. Okay, let's start with the front yard and these amazing Surefire begonias. I mean, look at these containers. They are magnificent. I was driving by the other day after about a month of not seeing what was going on here. And I pulled around the corner with my wife in the car and I was like, oh my gosh, look at my mom's front yard. It is absolutely beautiful. So where do we begin? Well, I think we're going to start with the Surefire begonias because they are definitely the star of the show. And I'm going to go through each one of these and show you or explain to you how I planted them and the maintenance and really how they've come to look like this. I mean, it's truly easier than you think. So let's start with the first one on the porch here, and it just happens to be the Surefire red begonias from Proven Winners. And this is 3 plants that we had special ordered from Proven Winners, and we had planted them in here, and we had replaced the soil, the older soil that was in here before, with some brand new moisture control soil from Miracle-Gro. And before I added the soil, I lifted these pots up off the ground, if you remember, and I put those little feet there that I picked up at Lowe's for $8, 3 feet, and that enabled me to raise the container off of the concrete, which meant that I would have an easier time with drainage. Sometimes these pots wouldn't drain so well when they were sitting directly on the concrete because they do have one hole, and it wasn't like I could easily drill a hole, and that fiberglass usually shatters, and I didn't want to damage any of the structure of these beautiful pots that she's had here for a long time. So I just lifted them off and I ran my drip irrigation line through the center up to the middle of the pot, and I had put a little tiny emitter that sprayed water in all directions. It's kind of like a full circle emitter, and that really was enough for these pots to get the water that they needed. Now, we haven't cut these back. I haven't deadheaded them, but I think by adding 3 in here, they're just super full. They're not super leggy. They are ginormous, beautiful. I mean, when they're talking about Surefire, they really live up to their name. They are absolutely beautiful. And just as a side note, I have not once fertilized these with anything besides the amendment that I added when we first planted these. I think Ben added that actually. He had a little bit of the slow release fertilizer from Proven Winners and also some of the plant tone. The only thing that we do daily is water, and that's it. And I think she has the water on once a day for about 4 minutes, especially in the summertime, because those emitters do emit more water than the normal one, the full spray. And so she doesn't need to water as long because it's probably about 2 to 3 gallons per hour on those. And so they do release a little bit more water than your emitters that are a slow drip. And that's actually perfect. I mean, if things can look this good with no maintenance other than watering, sign me up. This is amazing. All right, guys, these are the brand new for 2022 Surefire white begonias that just came out this year, and they are just as beautiful and just as prolific bloomers as the red, and I just love the growth habit. And in fact, one of the compliments that my mom has got from these is from her gardener, which said, oh my gosh, the leaves are absolutely beautiful, and they are. They're huge. I wish you could see these close up, and I'll probably give you a close up right now of those leaves. They're incredibly green, and I think I would just grow these for the foliage, actually. It's absolutely amazing to see. Also in this pot, there are 3 plants, and this one is growing even more insane than I think even the red. It's a lot larger, and it's just incredible. It's draping over the sides, although it's not classified as a trailing plant. It's just enough to where you get to see the base of the pot and then the beautiful flowers on top. I mean, just amazing. And if you look down the line, you can see those other white and red, and it just really is a statement on her front porch in between her pillars that I think we've not been able to achieve so far. I mean, I've planted other things in these pots that were beautiful, but nothing that is as eye-catching as these. I mean, they're fantastic. Let's take a look at how these other ones look. Here we go. These are on this side are growing just as well as the other ones down the way there. Now down on the bottom you can see that we have that beautiful sparkling rosé verbena, and that has been an excellent ground cover. And the fact that that has two different colors in it, as those blooms open up, they're darker in the center and then they're a little bit lighter as they age on the outside. I think it really does tie in the whole look together with the red, the white, and then the pink, which contains a darker pink. I think the best thing besides the flower power that those sparkling rosé verbena give in the garden is the fact that they are an excellent ground cover and they keep the weeds down and the moisture in the ground. So in the long run, she doesn't have to water as much, which is a win-win in any situation. So when we're trying to save water, I think that's fantastic. And the best way to save water, if you're going to have annuals like this in your garden, is to make sure that they're hooked up to a drip irrigation system so there's very little waste and that you are really designating that water to the plants that need it rather than flooding the whole area in excessive amounts of water. So anyways, a win out here, guys. Wouldn't you agree? I am so excited, and I know my mom is really proud, and she definitely loves the conversation that she gets when she's out here and somebody asked her about her beautiful flowers. One of the things that you guys may have noticed since the last time that we were out here is she had her gardener trim the top part of these standard azaleas. And what she's going to do is she's going to let them grow back from the bottom, which, by the way, they are growing beautifully from the bottom, but they had really outgrown their place. I mean, this was a huge dome that was not very green, and so her gardener suggested that she cut them back, and she did. And I think they're going to sprout because this one on this side looks like it has a couple green sprouts, and even if it doesn't, the bottom is going to be absolutely beautiful. And I think a little bit more appropriate because they were quite large. But you know, that's with things in our garden. If something outgrows its space, we either trim it back, we remove it, or find a new space for it. And I think this is a great solution because she's going to try it out. And if it works, great. If not, she'll still have the base and it'll be a beautiful low-lying shrub that I think is going to be magnificent with the colorscape that's out here. So let's take a look at what she has in the backyard. So here we are in the backyard, and these 5 containers I think were a huge win as well, especially with the combination that we decided to pick for this year. One of the things that my mom requested was that we use some type of African daisy back here because she's had great success in her garden, especially in the summertime with that type of plant. And so I thought it'd be perfect, since I saw these at Lowe's, to start with these beautiful osteospermum that are the double moon glow. And I think that really is a calming color to look at as you look down the line here, in addition to the other 2 plants which really play off of that creamy yellow, deep yellow color in each of these combinations. So what we have here is we have 3 different plants that we planted. We have obviously the double moon glow osteospermum. We planted 2 of those towards the center, and in the very back of each of these pots we planted the Pina Colada Lantana from Proven Winners. And now that the summer is really heating up, those things are really taking off in the back, and after a couple weeks I expect them to even grow more so in the back, giving it a really nice mounded effect. And then we cannot forget the beautiful and classic Super Bells yellow in the front. And this is the new variety for this year. They've improved it, and they do that every so often. And I definitely like the growth habit. It's more compact, more dense. It's not as fast growing, and definitely not as leggy as some of the other ones that I've seen. And I think after a while, especially towards the fall, when we get down to maybe October and November, it'll really cascade and just look beautiful in the front of these containers. I'm super happy with the way they turned out. I know that my mom really enjoys looking out her window and seeing this ray of sunshine along this wall, especially when it gets hot like it is today. So anyways, I think this is a win, and if I had to do it again, I would do it exactly the same. Now, they are not on drip. My mom comes by twice a week probably and gives them a nice soak, and that's all that they need here. It's a little bit tricky to run drip to this side of the yard here because of the way her driveway is. We planted them with the same slow release fertilizer that we did in the front, and also that moisture control soil from Miracle Grow. And I think that does the trick, especially when it gets hot, which I think allows the soil to retain its moisture longer. The only other thing that I've done this season is come by with some water-soluble fertilizer, maybe 2 times. And other than that, that's basically been it. Oh, and one more thing. I have sprayed 2 times the Super Bells for budworms because, like I always say, in this area, we are prone to budworms. And so that's really kept them at bay, and they haven't suffered at all from those decimating little varmints that we can sometimes have. So it keeps them away and it keeps them blooming and they stay happy. I'm sure you noticed that we have this tomato that's coming over from the neighbor's yard, which they're like, they don't want to trim it back because if my mom can benefit, they're more than happy to share with her, which is great because she loves tomatoes. She has some tomato plants down on the end there that Ben planted. So this is really a bonus. And so that about wraps up today's garden tour of my mom's house. And we're so glad that you joined us for this update because I was so excited to show and share with you how these things have done. Because if you're like me, looking for inspiration on YouTube, we love to find those things that we know are going to be tried and true. And since these things have done so well this year, especially those Surefire begonias, I definitely want to get out there so maybe it would inspire some others, if they saw these in their garden center, to give them a try. Also, it's important to know that you can order these annuals directly from Proven Winners if you so choose to do that. Anyways, thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope to see you next time in our next video. Until then, bye-bye everybody.